Good evening and welcome into Points in the Paint, our NBA show. He is Sam and I am Doug. We've had a little bit of a break, but we are back now, and we are going to talk some NBA playoffs tonight. So let's start with the play-in tournament, Sam. Since that's going on right now, two
Yep.
games last night, so we already have some results and some people already kind of advancing. And then we've got a game going on right now, and then another game after that. So results from last night's game. Let me find those. So last night the Nets beat the Cavs 115-108. No surprise there. And then the T-Wolves in the late game beat the Clippers 109-104. So let's start with the first game there. Nets I watched most of that game. The first half, man, they looked pretty dang unbeatable. They were Kyrie and Durant were Kyrie and Durant, and were just mowing through everybody. Kyrie didn't even miss a shot until the fourth quarter. So that's how stupid good he was last night. Still, it was only ended up being a 7-point lead because they kind of let their foot off their gas in the second half. But the Nets are for real, and they are a dangerous, dangerous team.
Yeah. And I think we all kind of figured the Nets wouldn't lose that game. The Nets are kind of in a must-win. So, but they were saying yesterday, and I went back and looked at the highlights from that. Yeah, Kyrie was on fire. Said playoff mode was already kind of activated there. So there was no doubt in my mind that they would lose to Cleveland. And yeah, obviously they just wanted to wrap things up because then they have to go on and face Boston. And then I'm looking at it now. So it looks like Cleveland plays the loser of the game that's going on now between Atlanta and Charlotte. And so
they'll play the winner of the game that's going on now.
Cleveland does.
Cleveland will play the winner of Atlanta Charlotte. Whoever loses tonight's game is just flat out eliminated.
And then the winner of that game that plays Cleveland, they're the HC because it looks like they play. Yeah, Charlotte's obviously losing bad. And so then Charlotte's going to be eliminated unless I doubt they come back from. They were down 26.
Just got to the third quarter break in between the third and the fourth. So yeah.
So it looks like Cleveland's going to play Atlanta for the 8th place, and then the loser of the game tonight plays the Clippers. No, the loser of the game tonight for the West is out. The loser of the San Antonio Pelicans game tonight plays. Was out, and then the winner of that game plays the Clippers for the 8th seed, and then the T-Wolves are in as the 7th seed. Yeah,
correct.
These playing things are kind of confusing, I thought. But I think I'm not surprised to see Atlanta win this game tonight either. I think Atlanta's obviously they still have most of their roster intact from last year, and they made a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. And Charlotte's kind of just a young team. LaMelo and all those guys. So they'll be back. And same thing with Cleveland. They're a young team on the rise with some young talent. So it's good to see some of these young, talented teams like the Cavs and the Hornets and whatnot making the Grizzlies, Minnesota finally breaking through. It's good to see some of these young teams finally breaking through and making some noise. So yeah, I think it's gonna shake things up and. I guess tonight we probably pencil in Atlanta for the win unless something happens. I mean, I'm probably going to want to pencil in the Spurs over the Pelicans, but that's just me.
You like the Spurs there, not the Pels?
Yeah, I like the Spurs. I think Spurs are playing good, and I like Popovich. Pelicans. I mean, the Pelicans have been playing better too. But I think the Spurs will hold on to win. It is a road game though for the Spurs. So I could see the Pelicans getting hot though. So I mean the Pelicans could just as easily win at home. So
I think I like the Pelicans in that game, but I would not be surprised if Pop pulls something out of his bag of tricks and sneaks that game there. But
yeah,
I don't think either one of those teams is making it past the Clippers. So I think that's a bit of a moot point there.
Well, yeah, because the loser of the winner of that game plays the Clippers for the 8th seed, and yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's the way I kind of see that breaking down there. From there, then we're looking at the actual playoff
Mm-hmm.
series. Um, let's start out west. Uh, let's start out west with the 4-5 series, the Mavericks and the Jazz. Um, I think that one will actually be a pretty good series. That one should be actually be pretty close.
I think that one might go 6 or 7.
Mhm.
Maybe Utah eats out the series win because I know the Mavericks got rid of Porzingis, and I'm not sure I can't remember who they got for him, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. And I think Luka actually injured himself like the other day. He's on his ankle, so it looks like his ankle might be kind of suspect. I think Jazz have a better overall team, and they play together more. I still think the Mavericks would give them some go, but I
Mhm.
think Utah ultimately wins that series 6 games, maybe 7.
I'd buy that.
Um,
Yeah.
and then Memphis, Minnesota. I think that's going to be man, Memphis is so young. I can see Memphis losing this series just because they don't know any better. I mean, Minnesota's got some guys that made the playoffs before Patrick Beverly, and I know Towns made it that one year, and I think they got some other guys too. But Memphis, I don't think Memphis has anybody that's. I mean, Steven Adams, but Memphis does have home court advantage, so I could see Memphis winning that one too. Maybe it goes 5 games.
Well, Memphis is a
And Memphis,
really good defensive team, and that's
yeah,
usually what you want in the playoffs. So I would put my
exactly,
money on Memphis just for that, all else being equal.
exactly. Denver, Golden State. I think Golden State was pretty banged up, and so was Denver. I don't think Jamal Murray's back, but Golden State's been playing good. And I think the guys, I think like Steph Curry will be healthy, and I think Clay should be back along with Draymond. So I will probably give the nod to Golden State.
I'll say that
But
one
I
in
have,
five.
and then I think that's it.
And then
Oh,
you
we
got the
have to
Suns versus the
Suns.
whoever's going to come out
Yeah,
of
and
that
whoever
eight.
the Suns play, the Suns going to be whoever they play. They're locked in and they're ready. So I'm
Yeah,
not worried about who they play.
yeah. Suns are looking good. They're going to be
Yeah.
a good team there with those guys. The East is a little bit more intriguing just because with the
Yeah.
Nets being the low seed, they can really
Mm-hmm.
come in and really do a lot of damage over there. Let's start with that Boston Nets matchup. That's going to be a fun series, I think, just because you got a lot of talent on the floor, and if
Mm-hmm.
Boston's healthy, which I know they're missing a guy, if they're healthy, they can actually match up with the Nets.
I think, yeah, and I think the thing that hurts Boston is they lost their big man, Robert Williams, but Boston's got a lot of depth. And Boston's got a lot of experience too. Like this isn't just like their first go around. Tatum's been in the playoffs a few times, so is Jalen Brown. And I'm now just looked at the Boston page and says that Robert Williams, their big man, who's a defensive, he might be returning in the playoffs too. So that would be big for Boston too because they could shore up their interior paint. But still got Horford. I'm looking at the roster now. Trying to see what other veterans they have. Marcus Smart. And but they traded for this guy from San Antonio, White. I can't remember Derek White, and he's their point guard. And he's been playing a lot better. But I mean, Brooklyn has Durant and Kyrie, but I don't know if that's going to be enough because Durant and Kyrie are obviously going to do their things.
Mhm.
But if the other people on their team, like Steph Curry, doesn't show up, if Andre Drummond gets in foul trouble, doesn't show up, or whatnot, I think Brooklyn's really going to be in trouble. But I kind of want to give a nod to Boston just because Boston been playing really, really good lately. But I wouldn't be surprised if Brooklyn won that series just because of the star power of Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Do you think we'll see Ben Simmons at any point in the playoffs?
I don't think so because they said I heard something interesting the other day. He hasn't even been cleared for contact. Like if you haven't been cleared for contact at this point, you still have to scrimmage and he hasn't played all year.
Right.
So what is his conditioning level? It's probably and they're saying oh he'll play in spurts and I don't think he's gonna play, but I think Phoenix or not Phoenix, I think Brooklyn might just be doing a smoke screen, saying
Mhm.
he's gonna play to kind of get the other team to work. But I don't think he's gonna play. And I think they got enough guys. I mean, he's gonna be a liability on defense if he plays. I mean, they're gonna hack him. So if you plug him in the playoffs now, he might just mess up everything you have going on with your rotation. So I doubt he plays, but that could just be me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I see him playing because, like you said, like we'll talk about with Chicago later on with Lonzo. Exactly right. That and Lonzo actually played like 15 games this year. You're
Uh-huh.
still not cleared for contact. That's going to take you a while. Then you got to get your sea legs back underneath you, and then on top of that, um, playoff basketball is much more rough and tumble than regular season basketball is. So
Mm-hmm.
Simmons is in no place to be ready to go. I mean, maybe if they go all the way to the finals and they play every series 7 games, maybe he might have some time to get back. But I don't think so. I don't think we see Ben Simmons this playoffs. I don't think we see him until next season. Is kind of my opinion on that. I think that's a fascinating series. Um, I don't know how. I like the Nets in that one, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I don't know how many games it'll take. I don't know if that one will go the full 7 or if they'll do it in less. So that one really kind of that series really kind of intrigues me.
The Brooklyn Boston series is probably one of the most intriguing series in that first round matchup if you look at it.
Mhm.
Um,
Uh, Taking a look at Philly and Toronto.
oh,
Yeah, I got to think that's Philly all day. Nobody can match up with Embiid. He just does too much. And then you've got Harden
mm-hmm.
who can go off at any. The Raptors just frankly just don't have that kind of firepower.
And I haven't seen the Raptors play at all this season, but I know when they did beat Philly a few years ago, they had Gasol and they had, big man, and still Embiid was killing them that year when Kawhi hit that shot. And yeah, like what you just said, that's still when Chicago plays Philadelphia. You have nobody that can guard Embiid, so Embiid literally would go off for like 30+ points and so rebounds. So yeah, I definitely think Philly will end up winning that series. I want to see how Harden does in this first round series because I still think the pressure's on Harden. So Harden's got to play great. He's got to have a phenomenal playoff run, like in each round. So I know he's been playing a little bit better, but I think that's still Philly series to win. And let's see, keeping in the East, we talked about Brooklyn, Boston. I think I think Boston might eat that out. Fortunately, I think Chicago's going to get swept by Milwaukee just because we don't have anybody for Giannis either. I think for
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, really, it's just us getting that experience, getting that playoff experience under Zach's belt. I kind of wish Lonzo was there to get that experience too. I think it'll
Mm-hmm.
be good for him, especially the playoff and atmosphere. But I think getting Zach that experience, to Sumu, Kobe, Pat Williams, especially because Pat's going to probably guard Giannis a lot.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So just getting our guys the experience. If we could steal a game and make it 5, I'll be happy. But I honestly think we're going to get swept just because Milwaukee's got so much depth. They're the defending champions, so they're not going to want to play around with us. They're going to try to sweep this series just so they can get ready for the next round because they have to play. Are we 4-5? No, we're 3-6. Who's 4-5 in the East?
Four
Is that
five
Brooklyn?
is.
No, no.
I just had that. 4-5 is the Sixers Raptors.
Oh, and we're 3-6.
Yep, and then Bucks Bulls are 3-6. So yeah, so then it would go. So they would actually get
So who's two
if the
then?
seedings would hold, then they would actually end up with the winner of Celtics Nets should be who they match up with. The Bucks would get the winner of Celtics Nets because the Heat would get the 4 seed there, so
Who
they
is
would
the
get the
four?
Sixers.
Oh,
Sixers are
Sixers
4.
and yeah,
Yep.
okay. So if we won, then we get the the Nets and yeah, that'd be tough for the Bulls, man. To beat the Bucks in the first round and have to face either the Celtics or the Nets in the second round, and then Philly or whoever in the finals. That'd be a gauntlet. And see all. I mean, a lot of those teams have bigs except for Brooklyn, really, but Brooklyn's got KD. But so I just don't think the Bulls are equipped to go far in the playoffs. I think. Well, I guess yeah. Well, we got some guys that got experience, but Tristan Thompson's more of a defensive. But not having Lonzo is going to hurt the offense a lot. So I don't think we'll be able to hang with a lot of these teams. We'll be able to match them in the first half or so, but I don't think we have enough. unless all the guards got to come out to play. Caruso, Dosunmu, they got to come out to play and whatnot. So
Yeah, that's a tough ask for Chicago, especially as poorly as
yeah,
they played down the stretch after the All-Star break.
yeah,
The wheels have
agreed.
really fallen off for Chicago. It's been frustrating to watch. I tried, but they get down so quickly, so big, so quickly, and then they just can't seem to dig out of it like they did earlier in the year, and it's just rough to watch, and it's they really need kind of a reset. You're right. They need somebody to distribute, which is what Lonzo
Mm-hmm.
was for. And unfortunately, the guys backing him up, that Caruso's really not. Caruso's really good. I
No,
love Caruso,
he's
but
not a
he's
he's not
not
a
that
point
that
guard.
kind of creative playmaker, and neither's
Mm-mm,
Io. Um,
mm-mm.
and you really need kind of that pass first guy with all of those weapons that they have, because we're seeing that tonight in Atlanta with Trey. Is he's distributing everywhere that it needs to go. He's having a terrible shooting night, but they're blowing out Charlotte because he's making the right passes and the right choices, and we
Yep,
don't have somebody to do that on a consistent in and out play by play basis. And
I
that and
agree.
that's and then the fact that the defense is just quicksand. I don't know what went on with Chicago's defense, but it just died. It was I can't tell you how many times I've seen that they teams just backdoor lob them, and people are there are four bulls along the along the blocks, and they're all
Mm-hmm.
faced towards the stands, not towards the net. And then somebody just comes in right behind them and just dunks, and I'm just like, the ball's over there, guys. It's infuriating to watch defensively. So I got a feeling the Bulls are going to make some type of move in the offseason to shore that up defensively. They're going to need somebody to back up Lonzo if Lonzo's not healthy next year. What that is, I don't know. Whether they just put Io in the summer league and just say you're driving the controls, don't shoot, just pass, or what? I don't know. But that backup point guard spot is an issue.
See, a veteran like DJ Augustine would have been great
Mhm.
right
Yeah,
now.
just a
To
veteran
have that.
veteran
Yeah,
ball pass first point guard is that, and then obviously the defensive collapses. I don't know what they need to
the
do to
defense
fix that.
you have defense's effort though. That's a good thing too. And since we've shown that defensive tenacity earlier in the
Mm-hmm.
season, you can channel that again, and it is a playoff. So I think they'll be motivated to defend more.
Mm-hmm.
It could have just been so maybe he's running out of gas towards the end of the regular season. Didn't want to defend as hard for all those games, especially when you clinch the playoff spot or whatnot. So that I want to hope we can kind of pick it up and we can pick up that defensive intensity that we had before. That's going to start in that first round. You're going to kind of have to especially just make Milwaukee work. Just make them work. They probably have more talent than us. Just make them work, make them move, make them work on the other end too, and stuff like that. But we have some guys though. Guys gonna have to pick up their activity level, especially when they get in there. So when Vial's in there for 4 minutes, those 4 minutes, play hard, for every second. Same Caruso, if you're 10 minutes, or Javante Williams, whatever minutes you get, just you're playing hard and you're making plays. And they have to play for each other in a sense, and I think we can. Yeah, but then not having Lonzo kind of sucks because that's easy offense, that normally wouldn't get. So, but yeah, I'm really just hoping, and I kind of hope we would have made the tournament. I thought the Bulls should have made the playoffs 2 years ago in that bubble. Remember when we didn't get invited down to Orlando, and I think we were like right on the cusp too that year of I was kind of surprised the Bulls weren't one of the teams invited because the Bulls were playing better basketball right before the bubble, and then we made some noise, and we were like right there. We didn't get invited to the bubble, and I thought we should have made the playoffs that year and got that experience. I thought last year we could have made it, but I think some guys got COVID, like Zach did late, and we kind of faltered late.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought last year we should have definitely made. I thought last year's we're gonna because I think last year we had Billy Donovan too, if I'm correct.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Did we get him in the beginning of the year or no? Didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had Donovan all year last year.
And then we hired the other guys. The other GM came last. No, that other GM came because the other GM drafted Pat Williams too, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah,
AK, and then
yeah.
yeah, we
AK drafted Pat Will,
and he
and
hired
hired Donovan
Donovan.
and all that. So yeah,
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
step
So
one of the rebuild.
I thought we should have made the playoffs last year too. We didn't make it because of COVID and everything. But I think like I said, like I'm really counting on us just to get experience. Take this and get as much experience as we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's been the end wasn't as great as the beginning, but you're right. A
Yeah,
little playoff experience will go a long way for all of those young guys in there.
agreed.
Before I do want to touch on the Heat series. The Heat will get whoever ends up being the 8th seed. I don't see anybody of those teams, whether that be um, Cleveland or Atlanta, beating the Heat at
No,
all.
the Heat
So
are locked in. The Heat are just locked in, and that whole. I'm sure you saw the thing with Jimmy Butler and Spoelstra and that all that when that happened. I just knew that was just gonna fire them up, and I just knew they were gonna rally behind that. So I'm not surprised the Heat are playing this way. The Heat are trying to make a run back to the finals, like they did 2 years ago, and I think they're locked in. They're ready. Jimmy Butler's got them playing right. Tyler Hero's playing good. Kyle Lowry, he's been in the playoffs before too. Bam. Yeah, I think the Heat are locked in to make definitely a run to the Eastern Conference Finals because they play the winner of the Sixers Toronto series. So I think and that they can make it if they play the Sixers. They can lock up James Harden and they got bodies for Embiid. They can throw Bam and maybe they could throw I can't remember this other guy's name. He's a big man. Denman. Dwayne Denman. He's a
Edmund, yeah,
mobile Denman. They got other guys. They'll probably even throw Udonis Haslam on Embiid. Make it physical for him a little bit in short spurts. But they got guys that can throw on Embiid and they can shut down James Harden if they can lock up James Harden defensively. And that's the key. So yeah, I just think Miami's locked in and yeah, it will definitely be interesting.
yeah. I think the East has more intriguing matchups than the West does. I think the West
I
is
agree.
pretty cut and dry over there. I think you're probably looking at the Suns in the Eastern Conference Finals, probably Western Conference Finals, probably as your Western Conference representative again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's kind of dealer's choice, kind of whoever stays the healthiest of those top four, and or top four and Brooklyn would be. Um, if Brooklyn gets hot, I could see them going all the way. But if for some reason something happens, there's some type of thing with Kyrie, maybe then the wheels fall off a little bit. Just kind of have to see what goes on there.
Agreed.
All right, that is all of the matchups that we've got going on. The playoffs start Saturday for the actual, not the play-in games, but the play-off games. And there's been some discussion on both broadcasts last night and tonight whether the play-in games should be counted as playoff games. I'm of the opinion they should be.
I thought they were.
No, they are not. They're their own nebulous thing.
Separate.
They are not.
Oh my
They are
God.
not your regular season stats, and they're not your playoff stats. And it came up last night because of Kyrie starting 12 for 12. That would have been a playoff record, but because it is a play-in game, it does not count.
Robin Kyrie.
Yep.
What do you? Yeah. No, but it should count. They like the NCAA tournament, and they're playing that. Those games count because they're seeded. If you're seeding it, you're seeding them. So yeah, that's dumb. I mean, I don't get what Silver's doing there, but no, I mean it'll be interesting. I'm looking at the schedule now. You probably can't see my phone. It's in my hand, but yeah, Saturday will be interesting, and yeah, so by next week Wednesday, and if we do go next Wednesday, which I'm sure we will, we're gonna have some matchups underway already. Chicago will play one game. There'll be a couple game twos on Tuesday. Yeah, a couple of game twos as early as Monday. So yeah, by by Wednesday, we'll already know some teams might be down 2-0, might be split 1-1, or some teams might be up 2-0. So we'll kind of have an idea of already. But I'm interested to see some of the matchups like Minnesota and Memphis. I think there's a little, I'm not gonna say bad blood, but I think there's a little rivalry there. I know Pat Beverly was like saying something about how Memphis was celebrating last time. They didn't like how they were celebrating. You know, Patrick Beverly, he's an instigator. So I think that series might get a little chippy, the Memphis Minnesota series. So, and I think too that one, the games
Pat Bev
are
was talking a little smack last night. So
yeah. So yeah, I think that one might get a little chippy. I think Pat Bev's gonna, say something to Ja, try to get a Ja's head. He's young and Ja's only 22. So yeah. And then I think that series is gonna be good. I think the Toronto Philadelphia series could be good too. I wouldn't necessarily count Toronto out, but I haven't seen Toronto play that much this year. But I mean, they still got some championship guys on their team, Fred VanVleet. And if Harden lays a goose egg and struggles, and it all falls on Embiid, it's going to be tough, man. Because remember when Embiid and them played them last time, they had Jimmy Butler, and they had Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons that year when they lost to Toronto. So yeah, it's Toronto. So they had they have a bunch of guys. Now you don't have that. You have James Harden, but James isn't as consistent as Butler. So James struggles, or heck, if he gets hurt in his hamstring, and his injury, I wouldn't want to tie my future to James Harden. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but Philly chose to, at least for this year. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah. I want to look at Harden's numbers too recently, these last few. Yeah, because his last few games have been terrible, Doug. Okay, the Pacers on the 9th, and he had 22 points. He played Toronto. They just played Toronto on the 7th, and maybe, I don't know, but they didn't know they were going to be matched up with Toronto. Maybe they did. But he had 13 points versus Toronto, 11 points versus Indy, 21 points versus Cleveland, and then 12 points versus Charlotte. These are all bottom team, and he's playing a lot of minutes too. And he's just his numbers. Yeah, he's only averaging his points per game versus Toronto's under 20. So yeah, it's just going to fall more on Embiid to do that, and we will see. I know Toronto's got a couple bigs. I want to say I think they got Siakam, and they got well, not big, but they got yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, definitely looking forward to some of these matchups over the weekend. I think the one I'm looking forward to the most is Memphis, Minnesota. I think that one can be kind of trippy.
Yeah. Hey, just touching on brackety stuff. How's your bracket looking in March?
My bracket.
Yeah,
I didn't do one, but Kansas is my team. I don't know if I ever said you that. Kansas and UConn are the two schools I would have loved to go to and play college ball if I ever could have played. Those are the two schools I've always been watching. So when Kansas won it, I was happy. And I didn't do a bracket. The year I didn't do a bracket, they won. So I every year I do it, I usually pick them to go pretty far or win it, and they always screw up. So I'm actually like, you know what? I didn't do a bracket, and they won, so I was kind of happy. I watched the game, the national championship game. I was pissed off the first half when they were getting blown out by North Carolina, and I remember I was at the bar, and I went home, and I'm like, man, I'm going to bed. And like right before I went to bed, I checked the score. I saw they were up 3, and with 2 seconds left, and they had that crazy comeback, and I'm like, all right, good. So I might be more of a jinx, but yeah, I didn't do a bracket, but I know some things I did call. I called Iowa losing in the first round because they were a 5th seed, and they were 12-5 matchup. I'm like, I was going to lose, and I called it, and they lost. So I wasn't surprised there. There was a lot of surprise. Kentucky losing early, it's a 15 seed and whatnot, but nothing there surprises me.
Yeah, I had the Duke hate, and I had them as the 215 going down early. And of course, then Coach K makes it all the way to the Final Four. But
I thought they were going to beat North Carolina. So when they lost, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, there was a lot of revenge talk in there, and then they just didn't play well. So Carolina clearly had their number this year. All right, cool. Well, I guess we will be back next week. We'll get you caught up on the early part of the first round of the playoffs, let you know what things are going on there. Until that time, I am Doug. He is Sam, and we will see y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.